Okay, first day with Pumpkin. She's a 6-year-old quarter horse mare. I have worked with her before. Last summer I was able to ride her and just get a feel for her on the ground. Then her owner decided to send her here for 30 days. For this video, I'm going to go through my normal evaluation process, starting with lunging, walk, trot, lope, both directions, to tell me where is she at in her training. Is she soft? How does she respond to pressure? Can she do those things on a lunge line? Last summer, she showed she had trouble picking up her right lead and didn't have a whole lot of coordination with her feet or balance with her body. So we're going to start fixing that today to kind of meet the owner's goals for her 30 days. Okay, let's lope. So getting her going, I'm going to slow the video down. See if you can see how far she leans to the inside of the circle when she comes around this side. And we'll try it again. Get her over to the side. She's leaning inside towards me very hard. And that just shows how unbalanced she is right there. That tells me she doesn't really know how to hold herself upright and move at the same time. Other side, it's a little bit worse on this side. So once she gets going, you'll see it. She kind of surprised me today. She didn't struggle picking up her right lead at all. Okay, check it out where she starts to slow down. Right here. See how far she's leaning? Those legs are stretching to the outside of the pen, and her body is leaning in. See it again right here? She is doing this all the way around, but I slowed it down on that side so you could see it. Because of Pumpkin's conformation, I did have problems getting the saddle to stay still. It would slide forward a lot. And then, of course, the cat needed to be involved. Okay, so now that I've seen her walk, trot, lope both sides, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start being picky. What I'm doing here is I want her to tip her nose into the circle towards me, and what that does is if her head is tipped in, her body needs to move out. So that's going to force her to pick up her shoulder, and right here I'm asking her specifically to move the shoulder away from me more. She got a little reactive, so we had to spend a few minutes rubbing that reaction away. Moving and being touched by the flag at the same time turned out to be a bit of a challenge, but that's okay. She did work it out. Okay, I'm happy with that. She figured it out. Now we're going to go back to where we were. I'm going to ask her to move her body away from me while tipping her nose in. Start at the walk, tip that nose, pressure on the shoulder. The response I'm looking for is for her to move the inside front foot away from me to cross in front of the other. Just like that. She is being a bit lazy, so we're going to do it at the trot so that she has a little bit of motion in her feet. There, she crossed. And the butt followed a little bit. And what I mean by that is the inside hind leg also crossed up underneath her body. Which I do want, but I wasn't specifically asking for it yet. But it is good to see that she's already putting the pieces together. You can already see how much straighter she is in the body as she goes around. It is just at the trot, but getting her to do this at the lope will take time and practice. Repeat the process on the other side, touching her with the flag as she moves, since she did struggle with that, and she is on this side too. That wasn't as bad. Alright, doing the same thing. Tipping her nose in, pressure towards the shoulder area. There she's crossing, cross, cross. See that? I'm getting a couple steps at a time and giving her a break, just to get her to figure out the cue and what it means. As she improves, I will eventually require her to do it for an entire circle, and then eventually, at all times, she should be holding herself upright. When you're refining a horse's skills like this, the biggest things you're really doing are creating muscle memory and stamina, conditioning the horse to become the athlete they need to be to perform these types of maneuvers. And that requires a lot of time, wet blankets, and of course, a lot of circles. All right, that went well. Now I'm going to start pulling on the bit and see what she does. How does she respond to the pressure in her mouth? This gives you an idea of how much work the horse has had with the bridle. Pumpkin is very soft, and I know she's been rode a lot in the past, so that makes sense. She was getting a little stickier over here, but it is the right side, and that's consistent with all her other problems. She is a little more stiff and hesitant on her right side. Okay, now I'm going to test and see if she moves her hip off of pressure. This is something I teach all my colts before I get on. If you want to see how I do that, I did kind of show it with Ethel's video on day 10. I have rode Pumpkin before, so I know she can do this, but I wanted to show how I would evaluate this skill on the ground. As always, rinse and repeat. Other side. Okay, next test. Let's make some noise. Flap the stirrup around. Make it nice and loud to see if there's any holes. And right here, she did react. It was a little spooky. So you just keep making that noise until she stops her feet, and then I'll release that pressure. And we'll do it again to make sure she understands it's not going to hurt her. And right there, she understood. Do the other side. Not a lot of fireworks here. This is good. This tells me whoever started her did all the right steps, and I've kind of been finding that throughout this whole process. Okay, time to add some more pressure to the bit and see if she knows how to back up. Already, she's being kind of stiff in my hands. She's pulling against the bit, and she's not very comfortable, so that tells me we have a lot of work to do here. So just for a little bit on the ground, I'm going to continue to ask her to back up. I'm releasing pressure when she moves her feet. That way she understands all I'm asking for is for her to take a step backwards. She is moving her head up and down, side to side to escape the pressure, but as long as you release at the right time, she will put the pieces together and start to soften. Over here, you can see she did get a little bit lighter in my hands. I got a step pretty much right away. Now I'm going to put some weight in the stirrups, see how she does. I'm going to bounce and be as obnoxious as I can. I'm going to stand up and put my knee on her hip and pet her other side, touch her all over. If she hadn't been started right, this would be setting her off, but she's pretty calm and comfortable, so that tells me that she's probably going to be safe once I get on. Of course, you never know, but just a best guess. Other side, of course. She's got her foot cocked. You can tell that she's pretty comfortable with this. All right, let's get on. All right, so I'm going to start tipping her nose around like I was on the ground, but now I'm doing it from the saddle. She's still very soft and supple, which is a good sign. Gonna squeeze her and ask her to move, but I'm keeping my hand low on the rein so I can pull her nose around if I have to. Right here you can see she's kind of opening her mouth when I pick up on her bit. And that is just showing me that she's not completely comfortable with the bit yet, which we did notice on the ground already. So for now I'm just going to ignore it, and as we keep working with it, she will get more comfortable. Let's get some movement, start trotting. She's tossing her head more and pulling on the bit more. Again, I'm not surprised. I kind of knew this already going in. We're going to do some direction changes. You can see she kind of hesitates and breaks down. Just another indicator of things that were not worked on when she was started, which is okay. That's why she's here. As we ride around, I can see more evidence of her being unbalanced, but I'm also seeing some good things. She has good forward motion, and she does soften up the more I ride her. Right here, we change direction, and she doesn't hesitate. She keeps going. It's all good things. Let's see how she stops. Stops not as bad as I thought it would be. And the backup. Not as bad as it was on the ground, as you can see. That little bit of work on the ground to get her thinking about it was very helpful. You can't really see it in the video. I am releasing the pressure on her mouth every other step. It's just really subtle, so you can't see it from that far away. The big release is because she softened her mouth and her feet at the same time, which I'm going to reward that as much as possible. Let's give her a break from backing up and flex her around, see if she remembers that. A little stiff, but not bad. That's better. Much softer. Alright, let's stop her again and see what happens. That was much better. She immediately started backing up nice and soft. And she's starting to drop her head a little bit when I ask her to back up, which is nice, but right now I really just want her feet and face soft. I don't necessarily need her head down yet. Now let's test that button to move her hip. There it is. Exactly where it was on the ground. Very soft. And just like on the ground, her right side is stiffer. It did take a little more convincing to get her to move her hip on the right side. This is why doing these things on the ground is so important. It'll give you a good heads up of what you're going to be dealing with once you get on. Backing her up again here at the end, and she is much softer. I'm releasing when she's being soft. There. Wow. So much nicer than what it was. And that's it. That's what I would do to evaluate a horse on their first day here. I have done this with Pumpkin before, so it went pretty fast. Here's a list of all the things we did on the ground before we got in the saddle.